So I'm here with Zane Navratil, currently ranked #1 in the world in singles, 17 in doubles, and 6 in mixed doubles. Zane grew up in Wisconsin, where he was a 3-time high school state champion tennis player, and eventually took his talents to college, where he played for the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. He first picked up a pickleball paddle when he was 18, but left his job in the business world to go pro full-time in 2020. In addition to his success on the court and upbeat personality, Zane is also known for his innovative approach to the game. He's an incredibly electric player to watch, a coach that's helped thousands of players around the country grow their love for pickleball, and one of the major faces of America's fastest growing sport. Thanks so much for joining us, Zane.
Hey, well, that's a cool intro. You did. I appreciate that. Nice. Well,
Of course. All right. So Zane, you officially became the #1 singles player in the world on April 3rd when you beat J.W. Johnson at the APP Legacy Open. So first off, congratulations. You've been near the top of the game for a couple of years now. So how did it feel to finally reach that #1 spot?
well, I mean, I think at this point it's a really cool accomplishment, and I mean, there are I'm proud of the work that I've put in, but there's also other, the tours right now are so divided, and some players are playing one thing, some players are playing others, some players didn't show up to a tournament. I didn't play my national final, but and wasn't even there. So I mean, there's just a lot kind of going on with pickleball, and so for me, I look forward to this time next year. I think if I'm the #1 in those world pickleball rankings, I think that's going to mean a little bit more to me. And at the end of the day, this pickleball rankings are just it's just a summary of what you've done. I'd rather win tournaments than worry about my ranking. If you worry about the ranking, it is what it is. And so, recently JW has been kicking my butt a little bit. I got back over in Arizona, but really, like, it's cool to be #1, and it's an accomplishment that I'll have for forever. But it's it's just part of the process, and I'm going to try and keep it for as long as I can. I think if I can keep it for a while, I think it'll add a little bit more legitimacy to it. And yeah, I'm just going to keep working hard.
I appreciate a player at your level being able to stay so humble. You definitely set a great example for a lot of the younger players. But I totally agree. I mean, I read in a recent article that you did say being #1 wasn't a goal of yours, and you just focus on becoming the best player you can possibly be. So I'm wondering, in that case, is there a specific pickleball goal that you hope to accomplish in the future?
I think it'd be pretty sweet to win a Triple Crown. That'd be pretty cool. I just want to win as many tournaments as I can, and I think if I can consistently be beating the other players at the top of the game, and for me that's singles, at least that's Ben and JW. Although I haven't played Ben in forever, if I feel like I can consistently beat those guys, I think that's kind of my goal. But like I said in that article, my goal really is just to become the best pickleball player that I can. Whatever my ceiling is, I want to find that. I don't want to feel like I've ever left something on the table. Because I just don't want to have regrets at the end of my playing career. I just want to make sure that I reach my potential and do whatever I can to try and do that.
Absolutely. I totally hear you on that. So I know you played for a while before turning into Mr. Pickleball. Do you remember the moment that you said to yourself, okay, I'm quitting my job. Pickleball is going to be my life now?
So I'm Mr. Pickleball. That's a new nickname, but I haven't heard that one before. The moment that I decided that, when I was this decision, I was still working at Deloitte. It was like, March of 2020 happened and COVID hit, and so in March, April, and May, like, just absolutely nothing inside that you could do, and nobody was seeing anybody, right? It was the beginning of the pandemic, and So just to get out of my apartment, I started, teaching a couple of lessons here and there, pickleball lessons. I'd train and then I'd teach lessons, and I started finding that I really enjoyed it, and couldn't keep up with the demand as I was trying to balance training and my job. And so I decided to quit and see what would happen, just because I know that left on good terms, and I knew that I could always go back to that job, but you can only ever try to be a professional athlete one time in your life, and yeah, no regrets.
Speaking of that last job, this is more of a fun question, but because in your past life you were an accountant, do you file your own taxes? And then if so, can you do mine?
Oh God, no. So accountants do a lot of things. I was an auditor for Deloitte. I know basically nothing about taxes. I knew enough to, at one point, pass my CPA. You do not want me filing your taxes. Yeah, you don't want that. I didn't do my own taxes. So now I had a somewhat complex tax situation within a lot of different states and whatnot, and a couple of different businesses. So I think I could file a simple tax return, but I don't even do my own. I let the experts do that. I'd rather teach pickleball.
So, all right, let's get into a little bit about Zane Navratil, the player. We all see you hitting huge serves, amazing drops, beating some of the best players in the world. I'd like to get a little bit into how you train and how you play. So can you walk us through the average Zane Navratil training session?
Yeah. So let's see. I'll dink for a couple minutes, and then I like to work on just volleying and doing like kind of quick hand stuff. So I'll do that for a decent amount of time, because I feel like if you work on your volleys and your quick hands, it just kind of slows everything else down for the rest of practice. You feel like you have plenty of time to react when you are kind of doing anything else. After that, we'll play some skinny singles games from the kitchen. Hit a lot of ground strokes. So there's a lot of drills where we'll go baseline to baseline. We'll go baseline to baseline cross court, and then net to baseline cross court. Just a lot of ground stroke work, because obviously singles is so important. Ground strokes are so important. It's tough for me to really kind of get doubles games around my area, unfortunately. So it ends up being a lot of singles play with my buddy John Sincola. So yeah, we'll do that and play some singles matches. And then if I can't hit with John, I'll try to play like 2-on-1 games. Like there's some decent 5-0 players around the area, and so I'll actually play playing the entire court versus them playing 2 people on the court. And so that's good practice. Those are kind of fun. I still do pretty well in those games.
Nice. Well, if you're ever in the northern New Jersey area and you're looking for a little ego boost, you can hit me up. I'll play you anytime. 4 or 5 player, but I think you'll take me out in probably 1 to 2 minutes. So just let me know.
So we'll get Duper sponsoring it. We'll see. Duper will create the over/under amount of points that you expect to win, and we'll put a bet on it. Jared Paul from the kitchen got 1 point on me in a skinny singles match, so I'll never live that down. So I'm coming out for vengeance next time I do one of these challenges.
I actually I saw that video and I was expecting you to win, but because he got that 1 point, I think I should definitely be able to get that 1 point. So I would definitely love to formally challenge you to a nice, friendly, competitive, Duper-related one-on-one where I have game point or something like that, and we can figure out the specifics, but let's do it.
There we go. We'll make it happen.
Awesome. Something else I'm interested in, do you watch your own film and evaluate it?
No, not really. I think I'm pretty aware of what's going on during a given match. I'm sure that's an area that I could improve, but you know, I'm pretty aware of what's going on as I'm playing, and I might realize what somebody's doing or whatever and make my adjustments and realize what I need to work on when I'm back at home. But yeah, my whole life is pickleball, and so I don't feel the need to have my entertainment be pickleball as well, or so, because really, like, when I'm not training during a day, there's a lot of administrative work that goes into pickleball, meaning like I'm doing a lot of work with APP Academy and trying to create social media content, filming YouTube videos, making sure all of those go up and stuff, social media posts. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, and so when I'm not working, I've been watching a little bit of Survivor lately. Tyson, my buddy, who's was on the Dink podcast, watching some of his old seasons. My girlfriend has got me watching the first minutes of Bridgerton, but I fell asleep pretty much immediately. I wouldn't recommend that one. So yeah, I no. So long-winded answer. No, I don't watch myself play really.
Totally. I totally hear you, and I'm sure there's a ton of, behind the scenes things you do, especially because you've kind of painted yourself as one of the more accessible players. Even though you're one of the few biggest names in pickleball, you seem to be someone that fans can reach, that's very down to earth, connecting with the community, which is A, why you're so beloved as a player, and B, why the sport is able to grow so quickly when we have guys like Zane Navratil that are actually responding to DMs on Instagram, doing things like this. I think you're deserving of a thank you for, on behalf of all the fans of the game. People like yourself are really helping push that sport forward. So I think you're doing great stuff.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, and I think that there's important uses of my time. I think like there's a lot of administrative work that my team helps me with, but then I think it's important to make time to talk with people and do stuff like this. It helps people, get to know me, and I can help spread some of my pickleball knowledge, and it also helps me selfishly grow my brand a little bit. Be in front of people, and maybe they like me, maybe they hate me, whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem using my time in this way. Now, would I do it 24/7? No. I probably do one of these maybe once a month, if that, and I'm good with that number.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So back to your game. You're an extremely athletic player. You use your speed, footwork, and agility to win points in both singles and doubles. While we all know that part of the beauty of pickleball is that anyone can play regardless of their athleticism, for players looking to compete at a high level, can you talk a little bit about the importance of building and using athleticism on the court?
Yeah. When pickleball first kind of became popular, like you would see people of 15 years old playing with people that were 75, and so when pickleball is still kind of like an unsolved game, meaning like we don't know exactly what the best strategies are going to be. People are still getting better in their technique. We don't know the best way to hit the ball. Everybody's still just improving their skill. At a certain point, you can really only get so skilled in a sport, and at that point, the fitness really takes over. And I'm talking primarily about doubles. So once we get to the really, really highest level of skill, that's when we're going to see fitness and become far more and more important. Right now, players, if you just practice more than other people and get more skilled, you can make up for not being quite as athletic. But eventually, the game will catch up, and you'll have to be both skilled and athletic. In singles, it's a different animal. Obviously, there's a lot more court to cover, so athleticism is far, far important. But I still think you're going to see the caliber of athlete continue to improve in singles and doubles. Yeah, it's just as the sport gets more competitive, going to bring in better athletes.
Yeah. I totally agree. Players like you are paving the way for that. So there's a certain type of shot that I believe you hit better than most other players. You hit drops from the baseline by taking a fast forehand swing that somehow have enough spin to land right in the kitchen. My pickleball friends and I coined this term, the droop, as a cross between a drop and a drive. So I'm wondering if you could talk about how you're able to hit this shot and then what situations you use it in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't heard it called the droop, but I like it. I'm thinking of it as like a hybrid between a drop and a drive. That's what I would call it, as like a hybrid shot. But I like droop as well. And so really that is based, you have to have space to hit that, right? If you hit a hybrid drop, drive, droop, whatever you want to call it, but your opponent is at the kitchen line, it's not going to give them any trouble. But if they're 2 or 3 steps off of that kitchen line, it allows that ball to drop a little bit more, getting kind of towards their feet, getting them out of position. So it becomes kind of a race to the kitchen line, meaning I want to try and push you back with my serve, and then when you hit your return, I want to try and take that ball very early so that I have space to hit into. But I also hit that 100% pace, because then it's going to be elevated. It's going to be towards your body. I'm going to take some pace off, maybe go 60-70% of my full pace and try and get that down towards your feet. So it's really about taking time and space away from your opponent, which kind of allows you to hit that shot. It doesn't work when your opponent is at that kitchen line.
Right. Makes sense. All right. Another signature Zane Navratil shot was the chainsaw serve. Pretty much a shot you invented and dominated. You use this to pretty much dismantle your opponents. So for those that aren't aware, the chainsaw serve involves spinning your toss using 2 hands or off your paddle. And this was actually outlawed at the beginning of the 22 season. So personally, did you feel like when this outlaw came into place, a piece of your game was taken away?
Well, sure, yeah, a piece of my. I've definitely, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I was more so irritated with the process, and meaning time that the rules committee was voting on the rule change, I didn't feel as though they had full data to deal with, make the best decision. And I tried to show that by creating a study, and I showed different trends of how, first off, the serve is being weaponized more over time, and then second, the more you see my serve or a chainsaw serve, the less frequently you're going to miss your returns. And by the end of last year, like, people who had seen my return or my serve, they were just dealing with it, right? So I was frustrated with how hastily I thought that decision was made, and it's a very important decision for the future of the sport. And also, our overarching theme is, I really hope that we don't stunt the development and new innovation within pickleball quickly. Like, why serve any different than the person who decides out maybe a better way to hit a forehand, or our, right? Now these paddles are creating unbelievable amounts of spin. I'd argue, look, this chainsaw serve was a skill. Now you can get the same exact amount of spin just by picking up a different paddle. Like, that's, I don't know, that's a little backwards to me. Hope going forward that we don't stunt growth in the sport, because again, like I said, this is not a solved game. There's a ton of room for innovation in this sport. I wasn't the first to innovate. I won't be the last to innovate. I just hope that we at least maybe let these innovations play out for a little bit more before making a pretty much unreversible decision on it. I don't think that the chainsaw is ever coming back.
So how are you able to adjust your serve to what is allowed today with spinning the ball only with one hand, and still try and be effective at the top level of the game, which you are? How are you able to make that shift?
Really, just getting good tosses, it takes a ton of repetition, and every once in a while you'll still see me throw it 3 courts down, basically. There's JW and I playing this past weekend. I screwed up one of my tosses and it went rolling over towards the net, and I just stood there, but JW went and chased it down, and it was great. I was just laughing, and then I just served it normally. Um, so
Yeah.
how do I adjust? Just a lot of repetition, taking some time, that's for sure.
So, I mean, there might be some people that are watching now or that may see this in the future and are still thinking, like, how do they do that spin? Even with one hand, how is it actually done? Personally, I like to think I have a pretty big serve, but I don't even try. I have 2 friends that are incredible with the spin serve, and, you know, I just go for a flat, consistent serve because I don't even want to risk it. But could you try and give us maybe a 10, 20-second example of what to actually do with your hand when you're tossing that ball to try and get that spin?
Sure. I don't have a ball on me, unfortunately, but if I'm holding the ball is in between my
No
thumb.
ball?
I don't have a ball, unfortunately. Sorry. But the ball will be in between my thumb and my middle finger, and then it's just a snapping motion, right? So I'll hold it here and flip it, right? Just like you would snapping. And I actually have a pretty, it's calloused up, but I've got a little bit of a, I had a pretty nasty blister there for a couple weeks.
Well, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Zane, the tournament player. So you're stepping on the court for a big final. Do you have a pre-match ritual?
I try to do kind of a little bit of, well, after I play a match, I try to eat. That's important. Like, I'm not somebody who can, like, just sit down and eat a full sandwich in a given day. So, in a given tournament day. So I'll just snack, and I'll do kind of zone out a little bit and almost meditate for a couple minutes if I can, if that's a possibility. I'd say that that's something that I like to do. Just kind of find a place and stare off into the distance and try to make myself think about nothing. I find that for me, if I can meditate a little bit, it again helps me focus.
So when you lose a match, which doesn't happen super often, what do you do to mentally and physically recover and then bounce back for your next one?
Let myself be all pissed off for a couple minutes, and I'm like, yeah, try to find some place, try to find somewhere to pout for a couple minutes, be mad, and then I go for it. I let myself be pissed off for a couple minutes, and I'm like, all right, next match.
I hear you. Yeah, on to the next one. A lot of people are face criticism when they're negative after a match, whether it's pro players or even rec players. You know, they'll get upset, and then their partner or their parent will say, "Hey, don't be negative." But I mean, sometimes you got to let it out so then you can move on. So I think you're right on the money there.
Yeah, there's
so
like a jerk. Look, I'm usually, like you said, I'm usually pretty accessible. I usually talk to most people, but, like, you know, after I lose a match, I'm pretty much head down, walk to a place where nobody's gonna bother me, like, pout for like 5 minutes. You're not gonna get a very talkative Zane you first 5 minutes, that's for sure. But I try not to be rude.
That's why everybody wants Zane to keep winning and to become number one in every single category, so he'll continue responding to everyone's DMs.
There we go.
For the last few questions, I want to switch gears and talk about some of your thoughts and experiences as a player. I've heard stories of professionals all over the map, singers, artists, athletes, and others, growing a love for their craft by doing it for fun, recreationally, just like you started out playing pickleball for fun. Once they did it as a job, they felt like they had to perform at the highest level every single day, or they'd let themselves down, or maybe others around them. So after your evolution from a rec player to one of the top players in the world, how do you keep yourself from falling into the cycle and continuing to enjoy the game to its fullest?
Yeah, I guess, for me, whether it's tennis or school or whatever, I'm somebody that I think I do a good job of enjoying the process. Meaning, like, really, my goal, kind of as I mentioned earlier, is to become the best pickleball player that I can. Realize that I'm in some tournaments along the way, you know. So that kind of takes pressure off of the day-to-day performance tournament. Like, hey, you know what? I'm here to get better. I'm here to improve. I didn't have a good day today, didn't win today, but I'm getting trending upwards. I'm getting better, and I'm happy with the work that I'm putting. I think that helps to take some pressure off of myself for sure. So yeah, that helps me keep enjoying it. And I would say, you know, I would say that the administration APP Academy, while I enjoyed doing it, I love it. I would say that's more of the work part of pickleball. And then I would say that's more of my job. And then the playing, I would say the playing and training, that's the fun. That's my passion. So, if money wasn't an issue, I probably wouldn't be grinding as hard with learning, creating YouTube content for APP Academy and doing all these clinics, all the admin work. I probably wouldn't be doing quite as much of that. I'd probably be doing as much, if not more, in terms of training. So, yeah, that's how it goes for me.
This has been really incredible. I think personally, and I hope a lot of people watching took a ton away from what you had to share with us. So I really appreciate you coming on, and we're all hoping to see great things from you to come.